You never really see me coming. At least not when the rain pours down on the fresh black tar that's been smeared away by the force of the white rain. At times, the pelting rain showers seem heavier than the year before. And for me, 52 years here in the Pacific Northwest, where the dismal rain pours down my blackness and my journey gets cloudy when I speak of my walk. You see, my voice speaks of pain. For when the oppressed bleeds black blood on fresh black tar, it brings to life new meaning on the block. I mean, it has now brought to life the new colors that we see, the murals that are painted in the middle of the inner city streets, in my block, on my hood. But I am thankful now. I'm thankful to be multi-talented. I'm thankful for parents that taught me how to wade in the water. And I've learned not only the art of a painter, but also the art of how to swim when I'm drowning in the white waters. My name is Valerie Yvette Peterson. I am a poet, a playwright, a motivational speaker. I'm an author and a creative. I'm also a mental health professional with over 25 years of experience working as a counselor with cognitive behavioral therapy specialties. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I've also been married and I've been divorced. I've also experienced several bouts of anxiety over the course of my life and sometimes have uncontrollable panic attacks. And I've raised 3 amazing daughters who are very respectful, very educated, and very grounded as young women. But all of those things that I've mentioned are fleeting. But because he never changed his mind about me, I am still a child of God and I still can build my house. And even through building my house, I wrote my first chapbook at the age of 19. I had my first child at the age of 20. I was divorced by the time I was 21. I earned my college degree after 12 years at 27 years old. I wrote my second poetry chapbook at the age of 30. I got married a second time. I had my second and my third daughters, and I found myself fighting immigration often to prevent my daughters from being taken out of the country. And over the course of several years, I found myself divorced again. But through it all, through the building of my home, my house, I've written, directed dozens of plays, received commissions and awards for my short films, and I've graced many stages as an orator, wrote several journals, and there's anthologies with my work included. And I wrote my first full-length memoir at the age of 51. But all the while of building my house, I had renters living rent-free in my unfinished home. The process of building your house should not include renters during the process, but what does it take to build your house? What is the first thing that usually happens when we go to the beauty salon? Well, from what I recall, they always want to cut the dead ends off your hair so that our hair can grow. So the process of building our house involves pruning a little bit, getting rid of dead things, whether that's friendships or jobs or relationships, old ways of thinking, anything that is no longer serving you or growing. God loves us, so he knows in order for us to grow, the dead portions must be rid of. So now what I do is I ask God to remove all of these unnecessary things from my schedule and to put me back on track so I can continue building effectively. You've got to take time to build your house. But the process of building a house also involves stripping away blame. It involves stripping away deceptions and lies and excuses that come from past choices that we've made. And we have to build with the materials that remain. And what is that? It's truth. And it's the truth that there will be times in our lives that we are living in an off season. And when the time is right, the season always changes in our favor. You know, one day around the age of 11, I remember my mother told me, she said, Valerie, you're going to make some homemade cinnamon rolls and you're going to do it all by yourself. And I can just think back on that time. And can you imagine what I felt? The disdain in my heart, the sound of you're going to make your own cinnamon rolls by yourself. It was the first time. And we weren't talking about Pillsbury. You see, she had been teaching me cooking essentials since I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And through observation and also through trial and error, she had me in the kitchen all the time. When she cook a dish, when she cook a meal, she would talk to me often about the various ingredients that would go into these different meals and how much ingredients, a pinch here, a pinch there, that it takes for specific dishes, and how pungent or how spicy or how savory different spices and fragrances were. I remember my mom also would discuss with these ingredients, spices and herbs, and she would oftentimes, as I remember, she would give me this mock test while I was in the kitchen with her. So when she was making a dish, she'd ask me, she'd say, Valerie, what goes in here? How much do you put in here? You know, I'd be physically cooking alongside her. But all the while, my mind was everywhere else. I pretended to listen, but I really wasn't listening to her. I used to live this microwave oven type of life, you know, the quick and easy. I was always in such a rush to get to the end, to get to this finish line. I want to get to those rolls, those cinnamon rolls. So I began working on placing my cinnamon rolls in the oven, and I wasn't really paying attention at all to the ingredients that I was putting into these cinnamon rolls. They began to smell a little strange to me. You know, it wasn't that usual delicious cinnamony sweet smell of a fresh baked cinnamon roll. And then when we took them out, they were quite nasty to me. The rolls didn't even taste delicious like a cinnamon roll is supposed to. They were salt rolls. Well, it wasn't so much that I made a simple mistake and added the wrong ingredient or the incorrect amount or of an ingredient or anything like that. It was the problem of the fact that I made a mistake because I didn't take time to figure it out. I didn't take time to listen. I didn't take time to feel. It was a microwave oven type of life. And as I think about the building of my home, I think about through marriage and divorce, job after job, college after college. I didn't evaluate myself. And we can easily say it was his fault or her fault, or this person has these kind of issues and this person has this kind of trauma and this person got mommy issues and this person got daddy issues. Those could very well be true. Absolutely. But it can also be true that the jobs that I had, maybe I didn't put forth everything I needed to because I was still building my home. Maybe the relationships weren't working on my end because I had too high of expectations when not really building and working on myself. So through the journeys in life, we must learn how to be careful when we're choosing the various ingredients to enhance the quality of our lives. You see, my cinnamon rolls, well, just like salt and sugar, things do look similar. Things may look alike, but they serve different purposes because they don't produce the same effect. They don't produce the same fragrance. And sometimes we want to reach our dreams so quickly without the struggle. And as soon as something undesirable happens or we begin to question these processes, we always wonder if we made a mistake. So oftentimes we ended up, we cut corners and we choose the path of least resistance, thinking that we're making life easier for ourselves. But experiencing the lows is just part of our journey. We've got to embrace that process too. Embrace making mistakes and then make corrections and move forward. We can't skip those hard days when we're trying to build our house. My organization is Project Coco, creating opportunities, creating outcomes through action, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that teaches poetry writing, spoken word recitation, and public speaking to individuals, organizations everywhere that are determined to continue to build their homes and change the narrative in their lives. I do that from the page to the stage. And when we write down our milestones and we reflect on our experiences, we begin to see patterns and themes emerge in our lives. We begin to understand the story of our lives in a deeper way. Poetry writing, spoken word recitation, public speaking, it helps us stay on track, and it helps us to keep track of our progress to see how far we've actually come. And that can be empowering. It also helps us with the process of our emotions and being able to work through various challenges that we may be facing. So if you're feeling stuck or unsure about where your life is headed, why don't you try putting pen to paper and see what new insights and discoveries come to life for you? Because we're continuously tested in life, and we are endlessly tested in relationships, and you can choose to ignore test procrastinations and pretend to do your best, or you can go with it with all that you've got, because our character is a test too. Life is a test, and we take it all the time, whether we agree to it or not. You got to take time to build your house, because the process of building the house requires a lot. Building the foundation, framing the house, installing the roof, installing the floors, and building interior and exterior walls. And when we build the foundation of a house, we've got to be prepared sometimes to wait for things to dry before we can start adding to that. Because a house with a weak foundation can lead to structural problems that can leave your house vulnerable to extreme weather. Unfinished home can even collapse. On my walk in life, it took me some time to build my foundation along the way because I didn't lay a solid format. So I had to learn how to live being uncomfortable in my house while I was still building it, because I allowed renters to move in there during the process. I would choose a life and circumstance that was familiar, that was norm to me, because it was easy, it was less stressful, and it was comfortable. So I would sometimes settle to avoid the unknown. It felt safe. But I found myself constantly being frustrated and in pain and without peace in my life, continually making these same missteps. I allowed physical wants to overcome my spiritual needs. And at times, there have been constant battles in my life that I created, and doubts would set in frequently. And I often didn't see God's strength in those times because I was too focused on me. During times of self-reflection, I used my personal life circumstances to determine what I really truly wanted in my life moving forward. I now ask God, I say, God, where are you in all of this? I've learned that living by faith does not necessarily make life easy, but it does make all things possible. Because just like Ruth in scripture, I had to learn over time through trials and triumphs just exactly how to create and cultivate my own character, how to build my house. Ruth was a hard worker. She was respected, yet she was strong and assertive enough to take the necessary risks into her faith in God. We all have a barley field to glean, and it all happens in God's time, in God's season, brick by brick. Thank you.